All right, everybody, welcome to the New Legend podcast. We are so excited about this episode. So we were at the Overland Expo and we met this fun and super outgoing family that were on this global adventure from Denmark. And man, just such fascinating people. And the more we talked and just interacted with them, the more intrigued we were. And so we said, hey, Hansen family, can we do an episode? And they graciously agreed. So this episode is about them and their global adventure. So we sat down with 3 of the 5 members of their family. Mama Hansen and the youngest were busy with Expo. They have these training things. So they were actually physically building bridges, both physically and metaphorically. So we sat down in their global expedition Scania mega rig and talked with the father, Mads, the daughter, Mette, and the oldest son, Emil, and learned about Denmark, family, parenting, kidding, meaning how to raise kids, just a lot of joking around, and on taking an adventure around the world, or as they would say, just goofing around. So, unfortunately, our producer, Michael, was not on site. So Luke and I were regrettably responsible to record this episode, and we had some issues. So please listen in, check it out on video. This is one of my favorite episodes to record. So, but we had GoPro problems, we had audio problems. So but it's all there. So tough it out, get through the episode. It'll be well worth it. And check it out. This episode's brought to you by Kenda Tire. We're super excited to see their brand new Cleaver AT coming out this fall. And I also, you've heard us talk about this, but I've heard a rumor that they'll be releasing a 33 10.5 15 in the Cleaver RT. So for all you guys with vintage trucks with 15-inch wheels, they are thinking about that. And I've heard it's happening. So that's awesome. And again, super stoked about the Cleaver AT. So check them out. And yeah, you can go just Google those images on that tire and check out kenda.com. Also brought to you by our friends at Free Spirit Recreation, or FSR. We're going to be doing a whole episode, probably more than one, about rooftop tents. And they're blowing up right now, and it's for good reason. I'm a big believer. For the last probably 5 years, me and my family have been using rooftop tents. And FSR tents are super innovative and really cool. I recently picked up one of their high country models, the tri-layer high country 80, and it's so amazing. Like seriously, it's super cozy, comfy, but more than that, really easy to set up and break down. That's one of the most annoying things when you've been on the road and you're camping and exploring and adventuring, and you get into camp and then it's a half hour to set up your tent and fight with zippers and all this kind of stuff. So their innovative design makes it so easy. There was a couple times on this trip actually when more people in our caravan had rooftop tents, but the FSR High Country was the only one that got set up because it set up so quickly and easily. And with the tri-layer, it's you got to check it out. So go check out Go FSR and stay tuned and check them out, or give us a shout and we'll talk about it. So once again, enjoy the episode and let's help the Hansen family get their story out. Check them out on Instagram. We'll post the account below. It's kind of hard to, it's in Danish, so I don't know how to say it. But they're super rad people and new friends of ours. And they invited us to Denmark. And guess what, folks? We're going to take them up on it. So hopefully we'll be bringing some live episodes from Copenhagen. And yeah, once they get their new house, because as you listen in, you'll see that they had to sell everything to take this journey. So check it out. Talk to you again. Okay, welcome to the New Legend podcast. We are here on a very special episode. This is we have met by chance the coolest family we've ever met. So, and we're here again in the context of our podcast. We celebrate vintage 4x4s, adventure, family culture, and being a man in the 21st century. And this family is doing so many of those things. Particularly being a man in the 21st century.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, why don't we always start the show with a couple questions, but we'll do that in a second. First, let's just go around and introduce yourselves, and just say your name and tell us a little bit about where you guys are from.
Well, if I have to start, because I'm the oldest,
That's a good.
I'm Mads Hansen, and I live in Denmark, Copenhagen. I just took a year off to go travel with my kids and have just a good time and figure out how it is to be a man in this century.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I'm Mette. I'm also from Denmark, obviously.
And you're 18.
I'm 18. Yeah.
So where does that in Denmark? What like is that high school or college?
It's like in Denmark, it's called gymnasium. It's like high school, I think.
Yeah, it's between high school and college. It's just, I mean, it's a thing between there.
Okay.
And it's like 3 years, and
Okay.
I've done the first one.
Yep.
So now I just have like a gap year, and when I go home, I take the last 2.
And do you have an area of interest at this point, or do you it's just general education?
A little bit, but mostly general.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just it's supposed to get you ready for college.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Emil. I'm 23 years old, the oldest kid of the family, and I just before we left, I finished education.
Okay.
So-
You finished college.
It's not college because I didn't went to college. We
Yes.
have some other
Yeah.
educations.
Well, I love
forms.
that. I want to talk about that too.
Yeah, let's do that.
And just for those of you guys that are out there, also Luke is here.
I'm Luke.
Luke, yes. Please watch this on video because we're in
Very cool location.
Yes. So we have so much to talk about. This is going to go by. Well, this is going to go by fast, but we're going to just take our time because this is a fascinating story. So, you guys are from Copenhagen, which is a city.
Well, and we're real quick. We're missing two members of the family.
Thank you.
Is that correct?
Yeah, we're missing my wife, Trine, and my youngest son, Anton. They went to some bridge building project for kids, which Anton attended yesterday, and he wanted to make it finish it today. So
Great.
Nice.
And just like they are building bridges, we are building bridges between
Oh, yeah.
the Danes and America. Okay. So let's give a little context first. So we're at the Overland Expo, and we have a cool booth with Nemo and New Legend, and these guys participated and won a set of Midland USA radios. So super pumped.
yeah.
We're so stoked about winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, and that's what like the initial interaction was like. They won, and we just did like, hey, like this happy family's coming over, like just so stoked on it, and so
much hype.
Yeah, but I mean, it started. We didn't know about the contest, but it started that we just saw a scout that you did for a tire company.
yes.
And we just saw that, and we thought, this is just such a cool car. And I mean, it just contains everything that I like about cars. It was not some. It was not big American, but it still had this American touch to it, but it was just so nice, and I like the lines and everything.
That's right.
So and then the guys over there, they said, oh, but if you like this one, you should go to their booth.
Okay.
And that's how we got to you guys. And then you told us about the contest, and hey, there's another car, and we have to find it. So we went looking for the.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about that too. And then we had some cool stuff from Rise Coffee. They sent this delicious nitro cold coffee.
Yeah.
And so you guys got a chance to try that.
Yeah,
very good.
that's very good. Yeah.
They're
Nice.
super excited
Yeah.
about the nitro pop when you open it. Pretty fun. Okay.
I have to tell you that Emil, he's very much into coffee.
Yeah, I work with coffee.
He works with coffee. in
Oh,
Denmark,
okay,
so-
okay.
And I can tell you it was a good coffee.
Good.
The Rise.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's
We should have brought another pack for you.
You
guys.
should, but we know where you are. So.
We got a Rise here, so there's one more for you, buddy.
Let's put it on the table.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys have been on a global adventure, but I want to explore two things because we talk a lot about family and a lot about families that adventure together, families that travel together, you grow tight bonds, and there's a closeness that comes from that, and we really encourage that and celebrate that. So I want to talk about two things. One, some of the nuts and bolts of the adventure, this amazing adventure. And have you guys ever done anything like a global adventure before?
No.
Okay.
But we have always been traveling
Yes.
by car.
Yes.
Went to Sweden, that's our neighbor country,
Yep.
and we can explore the beautiful nature
Mm-hmm.
on weekends. But we have never been traveling like this before.
Well, we've been traveling like regular tourists in
Yes.
most of Europe, and
Right.
we love skiing. So we every winter we go to the Alps, go skiing for a week or two, and regular family stuff, but never like this before.
Yes. So I want to talk about that, some of the nuts and bolts, and then I want to talk about some of the family dynamic. Like, we are in their amazing vehicle. So first, let's just start. We always start this question with the future of driving, because we all love driving. We celebrate. Like, that's what we love about getting these old rigs and just rolling down the window, feeling the breeze in your hair, and just like being connected to our environment.
Just exploration.
Yes.
Just getting out and going and see what happens.
But in America, like, the talk is that like driving won't be a thing in 20 years. Like, it's going to be all autonomous cars. So that kind of loss of freedom to go, like, man, I can just take a left, right, I can do whatever I want to do. I can feel the power of a V8 engine.
Yeah.
That stuff's there's other things. But anyway, so tell us really quick just about the vehicle. We are in this amazing vehicle.
If it's okay, I would like to start another place.
Sure. Okay.
Because this kind of got started because we, maybe 10 years ago, bought an old Land Rover Defender,
Yes.
manual gearbox, old diesel, and we fixed it up, and we drove some competition in countries where we had to winch and really rough
Exciting.
off-road. And that just, I always loved cars, but that just gave me that, when you're a dad, you have to buy cars where you can fit the whole family,
Yes.
and they tend to get boring.
Yeah,
So
right.
and then I got to a point in my life where I could buy a car for me.
Mhm.
So I bought this old one because they still had to look at the money. So, but we fixed it up, and Emil and I we went out exploring, and
And what was it? It's a Land Rover?
Land Rover Defender 90-inch.
90 inch.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a short
Small one.
wheelbase.
And are they left-hand drive in Denmark?
No, they're right,
right.
like here.
Okay.
And we just, the feeling of shifting. And
So good.
you needed to power when you had to pull down the clutch.
Yes.
And you just,
It was a rough drive.
Yeah. And I had this funny incident with my nephew. He was 5 years old, and he was driving with me, and he asked me, I pulled down the window, and he asked me, "Oh, what are you doing?" Because it was like
cranking the window.
cranking the window down.
Yes, we
He says,
talked about that.
What are you doing, Uncle? I'm just cranking down the window to get, because there's no air conditioning.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, that's cool. And
That's
can I do
awesome.
that too?" And yeah, sure. Because
That's so funny.
and at first I just kind of, this is crazy. But then I got to think about it. They have like a nice car with air condition and electric
Yeah, you
windows.
press buttons.
He doesn't know what it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've had the same.
That's one of those things customers are always like, can you put electric windows, electric locks? It's like, well, we can, but we're not going to.
Yeah.
Because that's what connects you to the vehicle.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly,
exciting.
yeah.
So do you still have that Defender?
Yeah, we still have
Awesome.
that. Yes, and this is another story. It's actually not quite the same, but we can do that afterwards. But this truck, that's what you
Yeah,
initially
sure.
asked about. It's a Scania. It's a Swedish brand
Yes.
who makes really, really cool trucks. At least that's what I think.
Yeah.
In Europe, it's a very big brand, and it's just the top brand, I think, in Europe.
And it's so it's like you'll see we'll post up
we did a
pictures.
little walk around, so
Okay.
But there's
we'll put
like
that up.
it's a 4-wheel drive dually, like with a compartment box that kind of goes that they built out, and you can see. So they've been living. You essentially have been living in this for
10 months.
10 months so
Yeah.
far.
Yeah.
So let's
I gotta know what was what
Yeah.
drove you? How did this start? When were you woke up? You're like, let's go.
Well, I think we were like every other family, like most families are. We were busy with our jobs, making money, and have a big house.
So Luke forgot to press the record button
my
on our
goodness.
device. So
Yeah.
they were talking about how
I
Luke
didn't have
asked,
a Rise coffee this morning, so I'm just
That's
I'm
right.
out of it.
But
I'm out of
you
it.
didn't get any of
Yeah,
this
this
coffee.
is
You
like-
want, you want
this
some
is-
hot
this is
one?
delicious.
Yeah, yeah.
So these guys were just telling us we did an episode called Dream
you.
to Dirt. Like how do you go from how do you get inspiration and how do you take that inspiration to actual action? Like how do you so that's what Luke's question was. How do you go from how did you come up with this dream to do this? And then what were the steps to start pulling the trigger?
Yeah. And maybe I should.
Yeah, you should
Yeah.
continue.
Well, it was initially Trina, my wife, and my idea of doing this. We've been scouts, and the whole family is into scouting, and we always lived like going out on camping trips
good.
and staying out for maybe a week or something like that. And we just like keeping it simple. I mean, you don't need that much to
Right.
just to live, but we were also kind of in the trap of just making money to the house and to the bigger car and all that. It's not that there's something wrong with that. I mean, it's okay, and we will probably go back and do the same. It's not that, but it's just we felt that maybe we could do something else, and we got inspired by a lot of Danes. They go sailing.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about sailing, but we love cars. So it was we just thought, well, we should go by a car instead of by boat, and then it just kind of took.
Then it was step by step.
Yeah.
Then during a skiing vacation holiday, we were all together. My girlfriend is with us as well, and she were also there. And they were like, "Oh, do you want to go for a?" They started out with a half a year,
Okay.
and then we had to sell the house, and then the kids were like, "Okay, let's go for a year then, and then make a whole trip around the world." And then slowly we started just talking about it. And when the
How many years? How long was that development phase?
almost 2 years.
2 years,
A little under
okay.
2 years, yeah. But then when we first started talking about it, there was no way back. We had to do
Yes.
it. Yeah. It was
That's
just
so
too
fascinating.
incredible too.
And the kids were all on board. Like you guys.
Yeah.
No.
Not at first. Not at first.
I mean, a year is a long time
Yes.
to be away from school and friends.
And your friends, yeah.
Yeah, so
Mette, she was very, I think you would say reluctant, or I mean, she was holding her a little back. But we said she's 18, and in Denmark, when you're 18, you're a legal person.
Yes.
Which means that we didn't have any rights to tell her you should go or anything. So we just said that we want to sell the house, but we can buy an apartment for you. So you can stay in Copenhagen, and she has all her grandparents, and I mean there would be family and friends to so she wouldn't be all alone. But then she luckily for me and for the rest of the family, she said at one time, she said, "You know, guys, I don't really want to go, but I will also hate for you guys to come back and tell all these cool stories."
For sure.
yeah, and they would call home and would be like, "Oh, this is so nice."
Yeah.
Sit back home and
Good for you.
So
and we also started talking about like making plans, and I was like, "Oh, this would be nice." And
Yes, you
and
started
if
having
you-
some input.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like changing the trip, so I just had
You're
to-
invested. You gotta go.
Yeah, I had to.
That is cool. So so I have 4 children, and they're 22 to 13. So you guys get to meet some of my kids here.
Cool.
But someone told me this, and I don't even know if it's true, but it sounds great. That in the outback of Australia, there's such vast expanses of land for these cattle ranchers that they can't build fences. And so they say to keep their cattle near them, they dig deep wells and they have these watering holes. And then and how I've equated that in my life is that like when you cast vision as a parent to go, hey, I'm not going to force you, but if you create a vision and an opportunity for your kids to be a part of what you want to do and do stuff together, I love that philosophy. So it's really neat to see you guys do that, and it's very neat for you as a young person to go, yes, I'm going to do this, and so how has it been?
I haven't regretted the
Good,
choice
good.
I made, but yeah.
Good. 10 months is not, I'm sure it's not without difficulty to be together. I know like my family, when we go on like a 1 week camping trip, like the kids start bickering and like arguing.
But we sit around this table and, you know, the discussion flies, and because we're not holding anything back. So
Yeah.
we just, I mean,
We're
love
not the
that.
best friends all the time.
Yeah, that's
we
good.
go at it,
Yeah.
but we always kind of like end up saying that this should not ruin the trip. I mean,
Yes.
we should find, and then we find a solution for the problem or the issue.
Yeah,
or-
good.
Yeah.
But it's also good, and it's always hard to when somebody says, "Oh, but you are in this way." I mean, you always think that, well, I'm the parent. There's nothing wrong with me. But when you got
That's
old
right.
kids, they will start telling you, I mean, Dad, you do this wrong and you do
That's
this
right,
wrong.
man. That's hard. That's hard
and
to
that,
hear
and that's
sometimes.
really hard to live by. And it's that has been the like the travel inside has been one of the great experience for me to realize that this is who I am, and some I try to change, and some I just embrace.
That's right. And it's interesting, like having children, like adult children, because it's easy as a parent. Some days when you guys are parents, like when they're little, you go like, oh, I just want them to like stay little and fun, and you love that phase. But it's also like, and it's hard, like 'cause when they grow up, they become their own person, and it's hard to get to accept that sometimes because you just want your family to be the same sometimes. But it's also amazing to get to know your children as adults and see the kind of people they're going to be and the dreams that you'll have with your families into the future. And so
I think the hard part for me is to find the right level of your being friends but still a parent.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, it's I don't. I mean, you should. It's a fine line where you should stay at. Yeah.
yeah,
When on a trip like this, you're involved in everybody's life every day.
Yeah.
You guys are. There's no getting away from that.
Yeah.
That's good.
that's cool. So you had this dream. How did you start putting this specific plan? So Meta, you said that you had some input. Like,
Yeah.
was that Kyrgyzstan?
I think my input were the Japan tour.
Okay, fun.
I wanted to ski in Japan.
When was that amazing?
Yeah, very good. So
I've heard the
nice.
powder, like the powder there is just unreal.
Yeah, it is.
They get like 15 meters of snow, 15 to 20 meters of snow every year.
Wow.
Which means that it is powder you're running in, but it also has this one downside: it snows all the time.
Yeah.
It's just always snowing.
Yeah, it's always snowing. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So how much of this trip did you just kind of like? We want to do these 20 things and we'll fill in between, or was the whole thing you had every road mapped out?
Like we're in the family. We were all had like, I want to do this. I
Yes.
want to do this. I
Okay.
want to do this, and we have not. I think you could have taken a cheaper route or a more I don't know, smart route, but you know, we had 6 things that we had to try, so that was kind of the route. It gave it. I want to see coffee in Guatemala.
Okay.
Meta want to go skiing in in Japan. My mom wants to cross Russia, and
I wanted to go to the Pamir Highway.
yeah. So
Do
we
some
all
real
had those
Pamir
inputs, and
Highway.
that kind of made
So
the
nothing was off limits. It was just you
Yeah.
just open it up.
Yeah.
What do you guys want to do?
That is rad. I love that.
Well, I mean, for me, the trip started with I had my own company, so I just kind of sold that off, and then I worked for another company.
Mm-hmm.
Just they bought my company, and I had
Yeah.
to work there for 2 years.
Okay.
So and then we sold our house
So you guys really went all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's kind of that's also made the trip possible to do all the things. I mean,
Yeah.
because the money is the limit.
Yeah.
So and not that we've used all our money now, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we could do everything because we were fortunate enough to have something to sell.
Yeah, and we knew that we were also only gonna travel for 1 year,
Right.
because the little Anton has to go back to school.
Yeah. Yep.
So we had 1 year, and let's do it this year.
Yes.
So
But the plan was, we haven't had like the roads planned out, but we knew which countries we were going to travel to, because there's a lot of visas and stuff like
Yeah.
that has to be prepared before you're heading out. So, but when we came to a country, we said, oh, maybe we could go this way or this way.
Yeah.
So that's
Was there any stuff you wanted to do that the more you researched it, just realized wasn't possible? Or were you able to?
we had visas for Mongolia,
Yes.
but we had a huge breakdown, and we also have a Range Rover with us on the Range Rover, and that took quite a long time to get fixed.
Where was that?
It was in Kyrgyzstan.
And is it hard to find a good Range Rover mechanic?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to find a mechanic
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
I can tell a short story about that. We started, the car broke down, and we towed it for, kilometers, 100 kilometers, to meet a mechanic in a small town, where we had to bring our own tools. And then he couldn't fix it, of course. And then we towed it another 200 kilometers to a bigger city, where we could get it on a truck across the border into an even bigger city.
And like, how do you even deal with the language? Like, you guys, I'm guessing you don't speak that language.
No, we all
Use your hands.
use
Yeah,
your
your
hands.
hands.
Or as in almost every city all over the world, there's one guy that speaks a little
Yes,
English.
that's
So
the key.
find that person and then use that translate, and maybe a little bit of Google Translate. And
Yes.
then,
Okay.
Nice.
Figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out.
What a great.
And
So
then-
you got it fixed?
Yeah, but after another lorry trip, so we ended up getting it fixed.
Yeah, and I mean, a cool thing is that you kind of think that every country's underdeveloped.
Right.
You think when you're Dane, you're at the top, but I'm telling you, we're not, and the US is not. But I don't know who is, but it's very cool. Like a mechanic, he uses all the same tools as you would do
That's right,
here.
yeah.
I mean, so we got in this shop, and they were very much into off-roading. And we thought, okay, they can help us. And then all of a sudden, the mechanic starts laughing. And we thought, this is not funny. I mean, the car's not driving,
Right,
and it's our trip. I mean, it's not that funny. And then he shows us. He figured out this. He knew. I mean, it could be this or
figured
this.
out the problem.
The problem.
Yeah.
And then he Googled the problem, and then he YouTube how to do it. 'Cause
Nice.
He didn't know the car and the engine.
Yeah. Right.
And then he saw that you have to lift the whole chassis up to change the two. It was the turbos. You have to change the two turbos. You have to lift up the whole chassis off the car.
Wow.
And they didn't. They only have like a trench, or I mean, you know what you
Right.
call
Like,
it?
yeah. I know. Yeah.
They
Pretty
didn't
big
have-
lift.
they
Like
didn't
a
have
pit.
a
They
lift.
didn't have a lift. It's just
Yeah.
like a pit.
So
Yeah, they have a pit, yeah.
so he knew he wasn't able to do this. So, and he showed us, and then he just kind of laughed because he knew this was ridiculous. But he was very nice. He figured out the way to get to. He found the shop that could help us.
Yep.
He found the transportation, and he ended up giving Emil and his girlfriend, which were going with the transportation and the car, some lunch and everything with
Yeah,
them.
he was so
And
nice.
then we asked him, "How much should we pay?" "This is from my heart," he said.
Yeah.
Really? That's amazing,
it's
man.
amazing.
Yeah. So, just on that, while we're on this topic, you hear like in the U.S. in the news and media, you hear like that there's dangerous places to go. So, like for example, you guys traveled through Iran.
I think you hear stories about. We met guys here in the States, in Arizona, that didn't dare to go to New Mexico. So
Yeah.
I mean, you hear that all over.
Yep.
But I think that the world is much nicer than it seems on the
Exactly.
news. So I think you can travel almost anywhere without any problems.
So you guys have experienced this wonderful people
All over.
everywhere you
All
went.
over.
That's
and
awesome.
in Iran, they were they were so friendly.
That's
They
awesome.
were- that's-
Maybe too friendly.
maybe yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We
Like,
went
what do
to
you mean? Just like with like offering you hospitality?
Yeah.
We have been to Tehran and other places, and we had like 20 to 25 people just standing around looking at us because they don't have vehicles like this,
Yeah.
and they kind of looked at our red beards, and
Yeah.
they don't have that either. So when the girls, they were wearing scarf and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
we
they
had-
kind of went away, I went inside. All the guys would come and wanted to talk to us and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, and that was actually a little too much sometimes
Yeah.
because you couldn't get any privacy. So
Yeah.
we thought, let's go to the Caspian Sea and have a swim and do stuff like that. And then we just arrived. I just turned off the engine of the car, and there was this guy. Oh, I will make you dinner. Oh, you don't have to, he said.
Yeah.
And then he called his family, and there was like 20 people
Oh,
at
man.
the beach. and they started a fire and made soup and everything. And then he says, you should come and stay at my house. I said, but we have the truck, it's our home. And no, you should stay at my house. And we had like this, like a fire, and it was nice. And they had bread, and they kind of,
Yeah.
and then we said, do you know where we can buy some grocery shop? Oh, you need stuff? He said, yeah, sure. And then Emil and his girlfriend, he just went with him in his car, and my brother has a shop, and then they went there and they took stuff down from the shelves and we want this. He says, no, you shouldn't pay. I pay for you.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah,
And
we
then-
paid for our groceries.
Yeah, and then he asked for like sixth or fifth time for us to come to spend the night at his house, and they're very how do you say this? Because he would talk to me because I was the head of the family.
Yes. Yeah.
And so he respected us and the wife too and everything, but he would address me with every concern. He didn't want their opinion. He just wanted.
Interesting.
So, and that's not how it works in Denmark.
Yeah, right. Nor here.
So, and then the fifth time, I just thought I cannot say no. One more, so I said yes, and the whole family there was murder in their eyes.
Oh,
'cause
you're
they
like,
didn't
"What,
want to
Dad?
go.
What are you doing?
Did you say yes to that?
We just needed a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And then we came to the house, and I mean, he said he kept saying, "I have a big house," but I mean, we've drove past houses in Iran,
Right.
But and we came to his house, and I must say it was almost a castle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
It was.
I think
was so
I think the
big.
Queen of Denmark would be jealous. It
Yeah,
Wow.
It was so
incredible,
big,
but
and and he just, I mean, he was so nice, and we of course they sleep on the floor, so we had to sleep on the floor too. But beside that, and the next morning they made lovely breakfast for us, and they wanted us to stay for more, but we said no, because we have a schedule, we have to go.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
So yeah.
And that's an experience that you really can't get if you stayed in Denmark.
Yeah.
Or just went to
No.
Sweden.
No.
Okay, so I just got to ask a little side question.
Do that.
If we can just have we have the open round table, anything
yeah,
goes.
yeah.
So, like, we talk here. It's like we're getting ready for a political election, 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so one of our guys, Bernie Sanders, he says like Denmark, the Scandinavian countries are like really looked up on, like as far as like this kind of democratic socialist utopia.
Yeah.
So without getting yourself in trouble, like let's talk. Just give people in America, and we do have people listening around the world, but primarily people in America. Give us some of what is it like on the ground in Denmark to work? So is there free healthcare, free college?
We have
Low
three
taxes.
schools, 3 gymnasium, 3 college,
Free universities.
3 universities, 3.
You even get paid to go.
Yeah,
Wow,
you get
for
paid.
everybody. Like, and do you have to still qualify, like pass a test or
Yeah,
something?
you have to qualify, but it's quite easy. So,
Okay.
and the first 10 years of school are mandatory, so you
Yes.
have to go there,
Okay.
and then you qualify for gymnasium, but it's quite easy. And then college is separated into what you want to study, and that's of course harder if you want to be a doctor or something like that. But I mean, there's also there's education for everybody.
Okay. And it's so that stuff is great. And you have to do a lot of people own cars and things like that?
That's a downside.
Yeah.
Downside. I mean, it's true. We get the healthcare is taken care of.
And how is that healthcare?
Good.
It is good. And
Yeah,
like
very
so if
good.
you get sick, do you have to wait a week to get in there or
No.
You just go
If you get sick, you have two options. If kind of like what's wrong with you. If you break something, it gets fixed
Right away,
Right
right.
away. So and if you have like a back ache or pain or which they need to operate, but it's not urgent, they have like 2 weeks, and if they cannot fulfill that, you're on the government's bill. You can go to a private hospital and get it fixed. And the governmental hospitals, they're the leading hospitals in Denmark. So
Okay.
I mean, there is the private ones are good, but it doesn't really, for me, it wouldn't make
No.
any difference if it
Okay.
was there. I wouldn't get treated better, I think.
So talk about it. So how about like income inequality or income, not even inequality, I don't like that word, but income, a diversity of income. Like are there people, do you guys have a homelessness problem in Denmark?
Well, I wouldn't say we have a problem, but we have homeless people, and it's always a sad story to see somebody like that. But they're mostly abusive of drugs, or
Yeah.
I mean, they might have a mental issue or something. It's. I think there will always be some because they're hard to help. But if you're like a family and having a hard time, you lose your job or something like that, there's always possibilities for you. But it's not a great life, but nobody has to be homeless in Denmark, I think.
Yes.
And they do a lot of things for the homeless. Like
Yeah.
at Christmas, they do Christmas dinner for them and gifts and everything. So.
Yeah. So that's good stuff, right? We have these people are taken care of. What does it come as? You owned a business. So we hear about high tax rates in Denmark.
They
So
are
that's the thing.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, and if you wanna buy a car, like for instance, we pay the same. Your gallon is like almost 4 liters, and we pay the same. You pay for 4 liters. We pay the same for just 1 liter of
Yeah.
gas.
So just fuel is super expensive.
Yeah.
Super
And
expensive.
the cars are like crazy. You can buy what you will pay for a car over here, like a Range Rover, the brand
Yeah,
new
right.
Range Rover. We are driving Range. You can get like a tiny cars that you don't even have over here.
Yes.
So
Do they have a thing called like the VAT tax, the value added tax? Like so, like the more expensive the item, the like higher the rate of tax it is. So like if you buy a small cheap car, it's maybe 20% tax. But if you buy a Range Rover, they put like a 50% tax on it.
Yeah, that's true, but it's changing all the time. But it is true that you could say that the more expensive car and more bad fuel efficiency is also a thing, and they try to promote electric cars, so they will get not cheap, but they will be
Incentive, like
Yeah.
there's an incentive to
Yeah.
buying an electric car.
yeah.
So what is a nominal income tax rate in Denmark? Because I think here, like pretty average is what, like 20 average, probably 20% of your income goes towards taxes, state and federal. But we have to pay. We don't have universal health care, so we have
Yeah.
to pay for health care.
you will pay at least 40%, I think.
50.
50, okay.
And if you get in the high rate, if you earn, if you have a good job, you can end up at 60%.
Do you find that ever as a business owner, just shooting straight, because I'm a business owner, like sometimes it could be, like for example, like when we hit a certain amount of sales, like we jump into a higher tax bracket. So I mean, my wife and I, in like I was frustrated. I'm like, we'll just do less sales. Like I'll just lay off a couple people. We'll stay under that bracket so we don't have to give half our money away.
I think it was an American guy who made this like curve where it goes up to a certain level and then it starts going down. Like you can text people to here, but then they will start not working because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's always an issue. And
So
it is, of course, I think it's not so much the economical stuff that frustrates me as a business owner in Scandinavian. It's more that I have to. Sometimes it felt like everything is your fault. I mean, it takes very good care of all our workers. They have to be safe at work.
Yep.
They have to. I mean, if they did something wrong and cut their finger, it was probably my fault because I didn't instruct them correctly or something.
Right.
And it for me, that's the downside of our community. It's almost at the point where it's always somebody else's fault that this went wrong.
Like people not taking personal responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. Because
that's interesting.
Why didn't the government do something? Yeah. But Trina and I, we always say, why didn't you do anything yourself? I mean,
right.
And
we have a saying in America, like pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Like
exactly.
And it's
that's
interesting.
saying,
But what like the counter to that narrative is like that is a statement of privilege. Like when you have no boots, you can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah.
So I get it's an interesting thing. One more question on Denmark culture. So is the family unit largely intact? So for example, in America, marriage is on a decline. Like people are not getting married, people are not having kids, or in some communities, particularly like poorer communities, 70% of babies are born to single moms. And so you have like this eroding of the family, which impacts a lot of things in our culture. So how is it normal to have like families in Denmark? Like most, like you would, as a young person, would you ever consider like, hey, I just want to have a baby out of, like, I don't want to get married, I just want to have babies? These are deep questions.
That's
I'm sorry.
a hard question.
I'll just, she can figure out her answer, but I think that you're asking maybe the wrong persons about that because I think that a lot of kids, they kind of reflect on how their parents did it.
Yeah.
So if they're living in a normal family, that will probably what they tried to do. But
that's a normal thing to aspire. Like, do young people aspire to get married and have a family and then?
Yeah. I want to get married and like have kids and a family like my mom and dad. And
that's it.
But
That's
I
cool.
think many of my friends' parents, they are divorced or maybe they wouldn't.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But it also it's because now we're getting at the male thing in the century. In Denmark, it's there are many female leaders. There is they get good education. They're not that they can take care of themselves.
Right.
So some think. Not because they're poor or undereducated, they just think, why do I need a man?
Right, I don't need a man. Right.
I don't need a man. And some of them just get kids because they want a kid, but they don't really want the hassle of having a man around. And I don't know. I think it's sad because I think kids needs both things.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the reality. Is I look at. Again, like these are just general statistics, but like they say the number one indicator or way to not be in poverty is like have the father present in the family. So if you have no father, your likelihood of being in poverty is like 50% higher. It's a pretty staggering number. Even though I agree with you, in America, like women are graduating at higher rates than men. They're performing well, like they have a lot of positions of leadership, and that's great. But it's just our culture is changing, and it's interesting. That's why when I talk about being a man in the 21st century, it's like, well, I'm a man, so I don't know what I'm not going to talk about being a woman in the 21st century because I don't know what that's like. So we'll have guests, and that's why I appreciate, Meta, your perspective and having a young woman, and Emil, like having a young man, like you're kind of getting off on your own. You're ready for the next phase of your life.
I am for sure. That's correct.
You got to be thinking about that, right?
I am, yeah, for sure. That's a big thing.
What are you thinking you want to do?
I'm not. I want to travel.
Travel.
That's like the.
Or maybe you and your pop start a business.
Maybe building trucks or
Yeah.
importing scouts or I don't know.
That's actually another little fun thing. I don't know the legality, and I should know better than I do, but it's like 25 years and older now. Like you can import vehicles. So like there's a flood of Land Rovers coming over now, and all these cool vehicles that we could never get before.
Oh, okay.
So is there anything? Do you know the import laws for Denmark?
Not
It's harder, huh? I think it's harder.
Yeah, it's harder because they have the whole environmental thing, and I'm not sure. If you have a vintage car, I think you fly under the radar, but yeah.
Like we talked about, I think I was talking to a guy in Germany, and it has to have the original old engine.
Yeah.
Which to me doesn't make sense because like if you put a modern engine in an old car, then it burns cleaner. It's better for the environment, better fuel economy.
Yeah.
So, but they restrict it, so I don't understand.
But
that.
I mean, we have this inspection that the car has to go to every second year. So, and if you like improve your brakes, which makes sense,
right?
If you use a product that's
Better,
not
Like an
better than-
aftermarket,
they might say, no, this won't work because it's not original. It's not tested on the car.
Interesting.
So, but instead of, I mean, they have like these places where they can brake test the car. Why don't you just brake test the car?
That's right.
If it meets the standards.
Yeah. Is car culture is it a big thing in Denmark? Like, do you guys love vintage vehicles? Are you like unique, or is there like, if you brought a Scout back to Denmark, would everyone be like, "Oh, that thing's so sweet"?
I think it will. I think a lot of people think it was very sweet.
It would be a head turner,
but it will be like it will be because it's so unique. It's so cool looking and everything. So, but if you just took an American truck, they will just go, "Oh, yeah, he's crazy and he's burning up a lot of fuel." And So it has to be cool, and I think in Denmark it's hard to be a car enthusiast because they're so big on the environmental, and they're just talking about like they want in 2030, I think they planning on having everything electric.
Yeah, I know. That's
and we live in Copenhagen, and Copenhagen is like
it's the major city, right?
Pure bicycles.
Yeah, it's like the capital of Denmark, but it's also like the cycling city of the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
So everybody is cycling. We have like the path for cyclists are bigger than the roads somewhere.
The infrastructure.
It's
like
crazy.
switched.
There's more bikes than there's car in the city.
Let me ask you a question. Do you enjoy riding a bike or driving a car more?
I love riding a bike.
Do you like driving a car?
I like driving a car.
All right, that's good. I
In
think
the
that's
city,
good.
the bike is much faster.
Yeah.
But I also
like that. I think that's a good thing. I think American cities are getting there.
Yeah, but
becoming less car
You know what? We can walk. We're used to walking. So when we come over here and we maybe want to go from Walmart to some restaurant on the other side of the road, that's like almost impossible because the cars are just they are not used to pedestrians. So.
And there's no sidewalks.
There's no sidewalks.
Yeah. It just kind of ends. Well, where does people go?
That's
They
crazy.
just turn around and go back.
I know in Cambodia, I've spent a lot of time in Cambodia, and they have so in the 70s they had all the cyclos. It's like you sit in the front and they pedal the bicycle in the back.
Yeah.
So the whole city was designed for those. And then the advent of like the moped, they all have like these little Honda motorcycles and tuk-tuks. And then, so now there's just like crazy, man. They go one way, like they don't care where they go. I call it the Cambodian Merge. They never stop. Like
no roadside.
No red lights. They just all like, and if you stop, you're going to cause an accident. So you just gotta go.
You just have to go,
But now what's interesting is cars are like, there's an emerging middle class in Phnom Penh. So now there's like all these Lexuses and they love Land Cruisers and Lexus. So now there's all these cars that in an infrastructure that wasn't designed for cars, and so it's really chaos.
Yeah.
And it's like, and people are getting hurt. It's crazy.
You know, I think what I feel sad when you talk about cars is that they put this many restrictions on cars instead of just figure out a way to clean the emission or
Right.
I mean just like we just said about the brakes. Why don't you just test if it's burns right? And I mean,
Right.
just make people do the right thing around cars. But why just abandon cars or just say no, because then we're back to feeling male. The one thing that a male can do better than a woman is to make a parallel parking. That's the only thing. That's the only thing. I mean,
But now
they would say, "How did you do that? How did you do that?"
But now they have cars that do it for you. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
they do cars themselves.
They don't
It's a
need
lot
us
harder.
anymore.
We'll be out just shoveling, digging holes.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, let's man, really enjoyed talking to you guys. So, and we could talk for hours about your adventures and travels. Luke, do you have anything?
I was just gonna kind of want to go around and see like if you guys had a highlight of a town or place or
Yeah,
something you
awesome.
did. What's been your favorite so far? That's maybe too much on the much pressure.
Or just a highlight.
Just a highlight.
I think my highlight must be we had a coffee. We visited a coffee farm
Coffee, yeah.
in Guatemala.
That is so cool,
and
man.
I was like, before entering, I was, is this just gonna be another touristic site? But it was only the three of us with a farmer and a translator. It was a huge experience.
Because in Denmark, do you have beans from Guatemala?
Yeah,
In the
we
coffee
have,
shops?
yeah.
That's awesome.
So it was, and I
This is
know
good coffee, by the way.
Thank you. I know a lot about coffee, but I learned like a ton of things about coffee. So that was a really huge experience for me.
That's cool.
Yeah. My highlight is, I think it's gonna be the Japan tour.
Japan is a cool place.
Yeah, and actually I went there without my parents before we got on this trip, because like I'm a scout and there was a big jamboree, and so I wanted to show them what I'd seen and go to the skiing part, and yeah.
So that was
it
fun.
so nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very fun.
This my highlight that might seems a little strange, but when the Range Rover broke down, we kind of ended up in this little town called Alchu, and
That's Kyrgyzstan?
no, Tajikistan.
Tajikistan. Okay.
Yeah, and we just we used
Yeah.
and I Overlander app. You
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We used that one, and we found this hostel
bed and breakfast.
and we knocked on the door at 8:00 at night or something, and because we chose that because they spoke English.
Okay, nice.
I mean, we needed somebody to translate to help us with the car, and I mean, they had the room they were living in, and they just said, "Yeah, come on in," and we
That's
stayed
cool,
there
man.
for
4 nights.
4 nights.
4 nights, wow.
And they were just, I mean, they had in our perspective, they had nothing.
Right.
I mean, she was cooking. When she was cooking, she was sitting on the floor with open fire cooking, and she just made lovely meals. I mean,
That's
and she
awesome.
just they had nothing, and when you had to go to the toilet, it was outside, and you had to lock it when you were done, because otherwise the cows will go in.
It wasn't a toilet. It was just.
A hole.
A hole in the
Yeah.
ground.
You
So-
gotta imagine this city where it's all small white houses, and
Yes.
it's all look like the same, and you're thinking, oh, no one lives here.
Wow.
It's just. Yeah.
So has this experience over the first 10 months of being around the world, has it shaped your maybe a philosophy of hospitality? Like,
Exactly.
For sure,
For
without
sure,
about.
because where we live in Cambodian, we live near the water, and there's like a really cool paths where you can ride the bike and run and stuff like that. And I used to exercise, maybe a little running. I know I don't look like that. I actually run sometimes, and I was running sometimes in the morning, and I would see campers, and I would say, "Hey, it's not allowed. Why are they here? I mean, why don't somebody move them out or anything?" And now I think
Interesting.
it's
That's
cool. They're here, and I think that I would address some of them when I come home and say, "Hey, do you need help?
Yeah, that's
Do you
cool,
need
man.
something?" And that's changed me because I was in the. Not that I did anything for getting them rid of them, but I just thought, why are they here? I mean,
Right, that
they're-
perspective shift.
yeah.
I love that. How about you guys?
I'm gonna feel the same as my dad, but I'm not sure about it. But you know, when you're in the city and you can see people with a map or
Yeah.
just address them and say, "Oh, do you need help?" Or I can show you the way. Or while in another city, while the Range Rover still was broke, it was like kind of the story. But then we met a guy. We were looking for an ATM, and then we met a guy, and he asked us, "Oh, what do you need? Can I help you?" And then he took us through the whole city to find an ATM.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I wanna be more like that, helping. You know, not big thing, but just
Yeah.
the small. You just usually I would just go past them. Now I want to stop and ask, "Can I do anything for you?"
And that's worth it, man. Like that's worth to me, and like any amount of investment to get that perspective shift of like
Yeah.
rediscovering like hospitality, because
Yeah.
like our homes are such a powerful thing. Even if it's just this home, this is whatever 100 square, whatever 80 square feet, whatever it is. But these guys welcomed us in. They made us coffee. Like, and that's such that's just a universal human thing that this makes us feel really loved and appreciated.
And so many of your stories are just a little hospitality takes it from being a nightmare scenario to this fun event.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And I mean, you don't. It's like Emil says, when it's late, you just want something to eat. You don't have the money because you cannot. They won't take your card, and you don't know how to get money out of anywhere. And just some guy comes up and say, "Can I help you?" And you say, yeah, and it might take him 5 or 10 minutes, but it means a lot to you.
We just had in a deep moment. We just had a little GoPro failure, so the video is gonna go out for a little bit.
Okay.
That's life on the road, man. We're in Flagstaff.
Yeah.
But I do want to continue. So this is a good. I'm interested to hear this answer to this question. So give one piece of advice for parents. So from your perspective and your perspective, advice for parents.
Go ahead.
You go first, man.
You go first.
An advice for you guys.
No,
No,
for
not
other
advice.
parents.
For
For
other
other
parents. So
parents.
parents
Oh, okay. Yeah.
parents that are listening to this podcast
yeah.
that maybe have smaller children or just children that are younger than yours. What is a piece of advice that you would pass down to them?
For parents in general, or for traveling parents?
No, just parents in general.
okay.
Like that's a good point.
My advice would be, make up with yourself which direction you wanna go, and stay true to that, and try to being a parent. I mean, set limits, but also move limits when it's a good argument. But don't always just please kids. I mean, say no. This is how it's gonna be because I'm the one in charge. It's not like
this guy.
it's not like you have to be a boss or
Right.
anything, because you have to listen to your kids. But I think it's very important that you set limits and you just kind of say no, because I don't want to do this, and you're with me, and I'm. Yeah.
Okay, now let me nuance that just a little
Yeah.
bit for you. And I wish your wife was here too. maybe we'll convince these guys to stop in Iowa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you can
yeah.
stay.
Yeah,
You can get some
yeah.
Midwest hospitality, and then we'll do episode 2 with the whole family. Anton and your wife.
We would love
okay,
that, yeah.
so talk about from a dad, from a man's perspective. What does it mean to be a husband, a father, a man?
Yeah.
Deep question.
Well,
brother.
deep, very deep. First of all, I like being a man, and
And you do it well, buddy. Look at this beard. I love it.
And I like being a father, and I like being a husband. But I think what I try to do is kind of say, this is how I am, and this is the way I want it. And I've tried to. I'm not. You can ask them, and we haven't spoken about this before. But I think that sometimes on the trip, someone has to step up and make a decision. And I think I've been the one so far making those hard choices. Once we were on a steep trip in Turkey and trying to make some off-road country, and we ended up turning around, and I made the final decision there because it was like So
not being afraid to take responsibility.
I think that's the thing. Somebody has to do it, and it's not like it's a hard thing for me, but I just think that's my role to be like that.
Good, man. I like it. Okay, now the good part.
Yeah.
That was really good. But from a kid's perspective, so what's some advice you would give, not necessarily to your dad, but to just parents in general?
Like, there's an easy answer to this one.
Okay.
Just be like my parents.
Man, that's
Your allowance is just raised.
Perfect. Maybe I get some chocolate later. Yeah, I don't know. But I think it's a very tough question. But you have to be. Like, in Denmark. We have this generation, and we are that generation of curling kids. Like, it's a metaphor for like you get brushed all the way through life. And I don't think that's the right way.
Wow.
You have to get some bombs, and it's for me, it's the parents' responsibility to give their kids the right bombs and help them through the bombs. Yeah.
And you're saying bumps, not bombs.
I'm saying bombs like road, not bombs, not bombs.
Too devastating.
Bumps.
Bumps. Oh, yeah.
That is great, man.
That is good.
That is a testimony to you, because that is very good advice, and that's something that's going to stick with me. The curling kids.
Yeah.
Just like you pave their path so it's easy, and then they don't know how to live for themselves.
Yeah, then they're gonna end up without a parent someday.
Yeah,
and
man.
They are gonna be the parents, and then just like normal thing, they don't know how to wash their clothes. They don't know how to cook.
Yep.
And all these, like, that's small things, but there's also bigger things that they don't know, or they are not ready to tackle all the quests that they're gonna meet.
That's profound, man. That's really good.
Well, Trina and I, my wife, we try to teach them to solve problems. I mean, we don't want to move the problems away from them, but we just want to give them, instruments to solve the problem.
Yes.
Yeah,
To equip and train them up. Yeah. That's really good. Okay, Meta, you're up.
My advice, I think it's not like Emil, but my mom, when we are on this trip, she often says like, it's okay to have a bad day. And I love her for saying
that's
that.
nice.
Sometimes you just wake up and you don't even want to get out of bed.
You don't want to open that little curtain.
Just, and so she's like, sometimes she tries to like, cheer up, but sometimes she just leave you alone, and that's quite the same. Like, you get these bumps, and you just have a bad day.
Yeah.
And that's okay. So
I like that.
Yeah.
I think as a parent, I know it's very difficult. Not like this is the problem with the curling kids is you want to help your kids. Like
Exactly.
there's this very strong desire to go like, I don't want to see my kid with a skinned knee. I don't want to see my kid cry, or I don't want to see my kid having a bad day. So you want to fix it. I think dads especially, like, we just want to fix stuff.
Yeah.
And that's not always the best,
No.
Or sometimes we screw it up worse. I know, like, my daughter's having a bad day, and I'm like just trying to overly cheer her up, and she's like, Dad, you're not helping. You're making it worse.
I feel the same. I have the same problem.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, man, I think this has been a wonderful conversation. We didn't like there's still a whole episode just to talk about, because I'm like, for example, I want to go, my wife and I, we want to go to take our family to Alaska. And it's like that, but that's easy. That's in the continental 58. This is 50 states. It doesn't make me, or lower 48, 49 states, right? Not including Hawaii. So, but it's still, it's like, it's one of our states. So it's not intimidating to me. But like going to South America or going into Mexico, it makes me like nervous.
There's a lot of unknowns.
It's just so many unknowns. I like from language to process, like how do you file the right paperwork? So I would love to so maybe we'll, or I got a second idea. We come to Denmark.
Oh, that's a good one. That would be
We'll
so
come to
nice.
Denmark and then we do an episode out there, and
Yeah.
you could finish the story
Yeah.
about some of those things. Because I think a lot of parents, like for example, a lot of our customers that we build trucks for, it's their first kind of adventure vehicle, and so they want to know, like, how do I put it in 4-wheel drive? Like, how do I take my family like on a trip? Like my wife's never been camping, or I've never been camping, or my kids have never been camping, and so they just have so many questions. So it's inspiring to hear your story, and I hope that it inspires parents to even, or anybody, individuals, parents, families, whatever, to just go, you know what? I'm gonna go camping this weekend. I'm gonna go out into the woods. Let's do this, man.
Yeah.
And so that is really cool. And we're going to put up all their information, but please, we're going to air this episode soon so that you can follow them on Instagram. You guys use Instagram to post?
Yeah.
We
post
use
your trip?
Instagram.
Because right now you got 2 more months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 more months.
And that's all in the U.S. or you?
We
a
are
little
gonna.
bit of Canada.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Okay, cool.
Take,
Okay.
Yeah, just a small turn into BC.
Go say hi to Trudeau up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so follow along. Please follow them on their social. We'll put all that information up. Can you say your account for me?
Yeah, you should follow us at the Jorden rundt på hjul.
And what does that mean?
That's mean like the Earth round on wheels.
Amazing. So, cool account. Our goal is to get them, let's try to get them to like 10,000 followers.
That would be amazing.
Because your story is worth, man. It's like, we have these like people that just like, oh, I went to the store today and it gets 100,000 likes.
They
And
have like
but your story is so much cooler, man. So Saul and Audrey and Lily, we're going to help you guys just get boosted because this is so cool. So listen to the podcast, watch this podcast. Sorry for some of the technical difficulties, but
that's overlanding. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
That is.
camping
you will
experience.
face technical
That's
issues.
right,
Yeah,
man. You guys
you
have
will
the
face
obstacle.
technical
you handled
issues.
it with stride. You didn't crack down like it just break down. So again, thanks to our Hansen family. Thank you so much for your hospitality.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you guys. It's been wonderful getting to know you, and we'll just see you guys next time.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.